Welcome back to another episode of
Every Game Ever.
Or whatever.
Josh Card explains it all. Whatever this is.
Well, just welcome back to Love Guru 2.0.
Yes, this is where we talk about how much I disliked the Love Guru.
Yeah, we left you last time. Terry, you were going to tell us about exactly that. So,
Sure.
I've not actually seen Love Guru. It had the, like, even the trailers, it reminded me too much of what I didn't like about Goldmember to make me think that I would enjoy it.
You know, and I guess that was probably my problem, is that I didn't see that, as I saw, this is going to be... I guess I just saw Mike Myers and thought this was going to be good. But at the same time, I was following the Love Guru's, MySpace page and their YouTube videos, and they were doing, this stuff that I thought was kind of cool. And so I got into it. You know, I honestly thought that it was, there was going to be this big, comedic showdown with...
You did not expect it to almost ruin Justin Timberlake's career.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to ruin a lot of careers. I didn't expect that to be I didn't expect that to go anywhere where it did.
Did Love Guru come out before or after The Cat in the Hat?
After.
After?
Yeah.
Alright, because I was going to be
after The Cat in the Hat, sorry. Yeah, Cat in the Hat was before by a few years. I think 4 years or something.
It can't be that long, because 4 years really would have put us right into,
I think Cat in the Hat came out, a year or two after Goldmember, and Goldmember came out in 2001.
Right. So, but here's the thing, the Love Guru came out while we were still in middle school.
Yeah, it came out 2000... I think it came out in 2006.
I think it was 2005. I don't know.
It doesn't
Either way, it's still, you're wildly overestimating how much time there was between Cat in the Hat and the Love Guru. Those came out so close on each other's heels that I cannot remember which one came out first. All I know is that both of them kind of drove home the idea that maybe Mike Myers isn't funny unless he's in a costume. I mean, honestly, think about it. What was the last Mike Myers movie that you saw that he wasn't in some outlandish costume for Persona? It was I Married an Axe Murderer, right?
Yeah, So I Married an Axe Murderer.
A movie which I don't think I've seen all the way through.
Oh, I have that on Blu-ray. You should watch it. It's a good movie. Anyway, that kind of was Love Guru cemented that for me, that I really just wanted to see Mike Myers doing more movies like So I Married an Axe Murderer, or going back to Wayne's World, or maybe Austin Powers. I wasn't sure how I felt about going back to Austin Powers, because like I said, I liked Goldmember, but there was a lot of stuff that I didn't like about Goldmember at the same time too. You know, it's...
So just think of that gay guy in Futurama. There's parts of it that I like and parts of it that I don't like.
You are crazy. That was funny. Alright, so... the biggest problems that Love Guru suffers from is... One of the big things that it relies on is that you need to know who this other famous guru is that was on, Oprah or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you didn't know who that was, it was a little confusing. And then it was all about this guy becoming famous, and you're supposed to give a crap. And I think he was supposed to be a lot younger than Mike Myers was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% sure. And there was some really... they recycled the midget jokes from Austin Powers 2 and 3. There's this whole thing with him arguing with Vern Troyer, because Vern Troyer is the owner of the hockey team that he's supposed to be helping, and he's making fun of him, and he's like, "You are a little person, you are a midget." And then there's even a fight scene between them, in the third Austin Powers, and it wasn't good. And I wanted it to be good. I think that was probably...
For sure. I remember, you were excited that, the day before, because you're like, yeah, I'm going to go see Love Guru tonight. And I'm like, yeah, have fun with that.
I wound up not being able to see it that night, so I wasn't able to see it until it came out on DVD.
Wow. So I still remember you coming back, and because, you were excited, because we're still in middle school, and you came to it, and you're like, so, how was Love Guru? You're like, it was bad. I'm like, yeah? Yeah, it was bad.
Honestly, because that was one of Justin Timberlake's first movies. There was, I know he did acting in...
Acting? Yes, NSYNC, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, he acted like he was straight.
That was Lance Bass.
Oh, no. Lance Bass is just straight up gay. Justin Timberlake continues the act. His whole life will be dedicated to this one performance.
I know that you got something against Justin Timberlake. I don't understand it. I enjoy him myself, but whatever.
So do I. And I admit I'm just a little bit gay. So.
All right. Well, but I remember
that's not what you thought I was going to go with that.
No. So I thought, like, honestly, because it had.
I'm full blown 10% gay for Justin Timberlake. There, I said it.
So like, 1 out of 10 times Justin Timberlake offers to sleep with you, you say yes.
I mean, that seems reasonable to me.
Anyway, so, but yeah, I thought I had a decent cast. Like, I don't know. Everybody says that Jessica Alba's a bad actress, and I've seen her do well in things. Like, honestly,
I really expected to be like, everyone says Jessica Alba's a bad actress, and they're not wrong.
They're not wrong. Well, that's the thing, is I honestly can't say if they're right or wrong, because I always had like a huge crush on Jessica Alba, so I'm biased. And then not only that, I've actually seen her do like really good work. Like, the second Sin City movie is terrible. It is god awful, and I would never recommend anybody seeing it, except for the Jessica Alba stripper scene that she does. She doesn't strip, she doesn't get naked, but she does this dance, and it's really good job because
very provocative.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's kind of actually disturbing because you can actually see somebody's mental health decaying as she dances. You can see like how broken and how destroyed she is through this dance. It's actually kind of cool. It's the only good part in the entire movie. Like, the second Sin City is so bad, it actually affects how good the first Sin City is.
Oh, it pulls a Pirates of the Caribbean 3, huh?
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing that it does, is it kills a character that died in the first movie, and it's a prequel. So...
That just brings up all sorts of questions.
Yeah, and it brings up a lot of other things, too, because it's like, it has Marv take out the other Rourke. So now Marv's taken out both of the Rourke brothers, and like the whole reason that like Bruce Willis, spoiler alert for a 12-year-old movie, that Bruce Willis kills himself at the end of Sin City is that he's like, I can't take on Rourke. He's too powerful. That'd be like punching God in the face. I can't do it. So I'm just gonna kill myself, and then he can't go after Nancy because I'm dead. And he can't get anything from me. And then in the sequel, Nancy and Marv just go and kill him. And it's not really that hard. It's just like two people go in and do it. She has almost no training, and Marv's almost superhuman, so it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it wasn't a big deal.
You know, speaking of disappointing movies, I don't think we've... They're definitely not on this show because we're on episode 4 of this particular series, but I just want to say how disappointed I was in the Ender's Game movie.
Yeah.
Because, like, talk about a movie that has a fantastic cast.
Yeah.
And still somehow...
Honestly, one of the best casts, like, and this... one of the best casts in a really bad movie ever, if I'm being honest.
I mean, like, you had Harrison Ford, and you had Idris Elba... Idris Elba? No.
No, it wasn't in that. It was,
no, I'm thinking...
Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley.
You know Ben Kingsley? Yeah. Ben Kingsley,
yeah.
Who is the... Was it the Viola Davis? Who was the actress that played Graf's assistant that took over the school when Graf left?
Oh, who played... Oh, it's not Dymac, was it?
No.
No, Dymac was the big black guy.
Yeah, no. Different name.
That was...
He was a guy in the books, but it was a lady in the movie.
I know, I was just like, from someone who reads Ender's Game at least once a year, you'd think I would know the name of that.
I know.
But no, the problem... Well, and then you had... fuck, I can't even remember his name anymore. The kid who played
Asa
Ender.
Butterfield, you had Haley Seinfeld.
Like, I mean, I wasn't super happy with how old they'd made him. But, like, I was okay, because, like, you know, if anyone had to play Ender, Asa Butterfield was just...
That was a great choice, and the second thing about that is, I honestly, like, I understood, because I think that's the only way the studio would let them do it.
Well, that was the thing, though, that drove me nuts, because, like, I'm a huge fan of the Ender's Game series, and
Yeah.
I might not be a huge fan of like Orson Scott Card himself, but I absolutely fucking this. But I am a huge fan of those books, you know.
Yeah.
And
he's read all of the books
at least once.
Yeah.
I was even subscribed to his Intergalactic Medicine Show, which was a monthly publication that he would put out as kind of a way for new science fiction and fantasy authors to get their work published. So it would constantly have a bunch of short stories and oh, I died here. Fuck.
like world building for Ender's Game.
Yeah, every issue had a short story from the Enderverse, as we fans call it, and had a bunch of different short stories, and it was a fantastic little publication. Especially back when I had a lot of time to read during lunches and stuff. But what ended up happening was so I obviously followed the concept of an Ender's Game movie very closely because I was really excited about it. And, Orson Scott Card had a lot of stipulations on what they could and could not do with the book. Considering that it dealt with some of the moralities behind child soldiers, obviously he wanted to make sure that that it was still children in the movie. And every time he took it to a studio, it was like, oh, well, we want to make Ender 16-year-old and hook him up with Petra Arcanian, and it's like, it's not a love story. It's not a story about kids overcoming odds. It's the story about... Okay, thank you.
Good for you, Boy Scouts. Either way.
I'll have to do that out. The problem that I had was that, like, they changed it, you know? Ender didn't start off 6 years old, and I can understand the realities of trying to pull that off in the Hollywood climate with how child labor and everything works in the movie industry. You know, I can appreciate the difficulty that would have.
Yeah.
But that was a key part of the story of the psychological torment it takes on children. And the culture that grew up around basically having child soldiers. And it's actually something that the books start touching on, the newer books as they're going into the Second Formic War, and they start using children. And it's really interesting that there's Mazer Rackham is a huge, he's constantly saying, like, we can't let children do this. And he's basically, like, shunted aside. We're like, well, they're volunteers. They want to do this.
Yeah.
And even more importantly, like, there was a situation where a young boy had to help him out in a war zone because, like, his family got attacked by the aliens. And so he was helping him escape, and they basically kept throwing that in his face afterwards. Like, well, you had no problems with letting him help you. And it's like, that was completely different circumstances, but that was the bureaucratic reasoning behind letting children become soldiers and focusing their war efforts using children instead of adults.
So in the movie, I think it made a little bit of sense. I mean, honestly, I did hear that one of the stipulations was they couldn't be over 16.
Yeah.
I get that well enough.
Yeah.
The other thing that I have a problem with is I think they cut too much and they didn't leave enough of... It wasn't as philosophical as it originally was.
No.
It was very basic.
The worst part is that, Orson Scott Card had a very... Like, he writes screenplays. That was actually the first thing he ever got published was screenplays. And so it's like, he understands the flow of a narrative in an acting sense. As opposed to just on book. It's completely different kind of pacing you do. But so, he talked about how, like, one of the troubles that you'd have making Ender's Game into a movie is it's a very philosophical book. There's a lot of internal monologue discussing the torment of the horrible things that these children do to each other, and for ultimately no other reason than, like, Lord of the Flies-esque status ship, And that was he kind of settled down, like, okay, well, we'll make it, like, a split movie between Ender and Bean, so they can kind of... Because in order to have internal monologue translated to the...
You have to have a conversation.
You have to have a conversation, otherwise it turns into like a 1970s science fiction with whispered internal monologue like in Dune, and... Oh, God, I can't stand that trope from the 1970s, like, science fiction.
Dune was in the 80s.
It may have been. Sting was in it. If it was in the 70s, it was definitely the very late 80s. But you get what I'm saying. That entire feel. I think of like movies like Logan's Run and stuff too, which again could have been in the 80s. I was born in 1990, so anything
before was the 60s or 70s. I think early 70s.
Anything before like 1989 may as well have been made in the 40s. To me, you know.
No, I get that. But yeah, I just think, I mean, obviously things really got away from it Orson Scott Card wanted, and it wasn't a good movie. I'm not even sure it resembles a good movie.
It resembles one because of the special effects. The special effects in that movie are fantastic. I'll shit on that movie to the day I die.
There are great special effects in the Transformers movies, and less of them are good than they are bad.
Yeah, but if you're gonna say if you're gonna use the exact definition of resembles a good movie, you were talking about like a passing resemblance to something you would want to watch.
Yeah,
you know. I mean, in passing, the Transformers movies do have a resemblance to Pacific Rim. Check.
So,
but that was my biggest issue. Was like, I really like. I absolutely love the Ender's Game, the book. I love the Ender series, especially considering like all it talks about is like, don't try to hold other people's to your standard. And more importantly, accept that people are going to be different, no matter where you go. Whether they're human or they're alien, they have their own culture, and that in and of itself is a reason to exist. And the only reason we should ever declare war on someone in the end is if we've tried every attempt to be with them, to meet with them peacefully, and they just cannot be reasoned with. They are hell-bent on war. And then we can enact war, but only as a self-defense. Clearly, when Orson Scott Card wrote these books in the early 80s, he had a completely different mindset than how he is now, but...
you're getting into weird territory. It's not worth it.
No,
so,
but
honestly...
What I was bringing this back to was the fact that I got really upset by how they ended the movie. Because originally, Ender finds one last Hive Queen after thinking he's destroyed the entire race, and that kind of sets off the next 3 books in the series is him bringing back the Hive Queen and everything. And his sister Valentine is the only other person who knows about this. And so that becomes a very important part of the story, her interaction. In the movie, he just up and leaves. And his issue with his siblings, Valentine and Peter, don't ever come up in the movie outside of one point at the very beginning, which, if you haven't read the books, it really comes down to like a, what the fuck was that about kind of deal, you know?
Yeah.
Like his brother's just sadistic for a scene, and then the rest of the movie spent like, don't be like Peter. Why? Because Peter did one thing once?
Yeah, Peter's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Well,
but
like I said, it's a bad movie. Even sitting in the theater, I didn't think it was a good movie, and it's one of those movies that just gets worse the more you think about it, which is an accomplishment all in itself, and I think it's mostly ridiculous that they set it up for this kind of young adult series that never came to be, and honestly, if there's something to blame, it's Twilight and Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking to be the next Twilight, Hunger Games, whatever.
Well, and that was something that, Orson Scott Card talked about in an interview, too, is that, like, he's like, it always kind of surprised him that it really caught off with the young adults. Like, he's like, I understand why, it's about children and everything. It's like, but he never wrote those books to be for young adults.
Yeah.
It's like, in retrospect, yeah, it's totally understandable why, but they were always supposed to be for adults. You know, and that's part of the reason why the later books, he admits, don't have the same young adult appeal. It's because he never wrote them to have that, and,
Yeah, there are weird connections. That kind of back-end connections and things that weren't meant to be there but wound up being there.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But
well, the fact they go way more philosophical than action-packed. Is this a game or is this a real-life thing? It's really more just sitting down. It's like, what are we made of? Like, in a very literal, physical sense. And that's pretty much what books 3 and 4 of the series are.
Yeah.
Did you ever actually finish reading those, by the way?
I haven't finished the 4th one. So I started listening to it. Another book in a series that I like more came out, and I read that, and I've been listening to other stuff. And
I don't blame you. Like,
I honestly, like, one of the big things is I would have a lot more of it, Orson Scott Card stuff, like, especially the Ender's books on my Audible account, because that's where I do most of my reading, or listening, or whatever you want to call it. Because I mostly read comic books, and so I don't read a lot of novels. Just, not that I can't, just that I read so many comic books I just don't have time. So, but I share my Audible account with my mom. We both listen to kind of similar stuff, and so it was, it's a nice way for us to kind of afford it a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Originally it was mine, and then I was like, oh hey, I have some books on here that you can listen to, and then it just kind of became that we shared it, and so we each pay for it differently. And now I don't, like, I would have to buy the book separately on my account. I would have to do like
this is a lot faster with the Red Sword.
Buy an extra. Yeah, I'd have to buy like a 3-book membership for a month or 2 to get them, which I need to do. But no, I never finished the last of the series. I think the last part I heard, I think Ender died. That's early in the book, isn't it?
Yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah, so I think what I just heard was he because doesn't he kind of like fade out like a Force ghost or something? It's something weird.
His soul leaves his body, and with nothing to hold his body together, it literally crumbles to dust. And
that's what I think that was the
something
last
that could only be described as slurry, really.
Yeah,
because there's still liquid components of your body.
Yeah, it was, especially because this was the character that you were invested in, and we could get into a lot of things about these books that I had a hard time with, but
suffice to say, it'd be like reading a Harry Potter book, and halfway through the 6th book, it stops being about Harry and starts becoming about like Ron or something.
It'd be more like if it became about a weird clone of Malfoy.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to like make the comparison. I'm like, maybe not Malfoy, but yeah, I get.
Or like Dudley.
Yeah, like some relation
like the
of
Dursleys.
Harry's.
Yeah, like Harry decides that he needs to be part Dursley or something, But
I can guarantee you, there's a slash fiction out there where that phrase comes across exactly like that. Dudley, I want to be part Dursley.
No.
At the very least, have part of your Dursley inside of me. And then they fucked and it was hot. Because I imagine it's like some 12-year-old kid writing this and trying to work out his gay fantasy without actually coming to terms that he's actually gay.
Yeah. I am, and this is something that I just think, like, because I'm in con groups and stuff, and I listen, and all my friends are nerdy. I am really tired of hearing people's fan fictions. Like, if you write a fan fiction that is like, this could legitimately be published, and this could be a part of this world, then I'm more interested in hearing about it. But I am so tired of being like, well, I had this really cool idea, and I thought it would be cool if they did this. And it's like, so wait, you thought the movie would be cool if they did your weird idea that you're the only person who knows about? Yeah. What? Like, because I'll see that all the time, and I'll run into people with that all the time. Like, this used to happen in creative writing classes, too. Like, I would read people's weird, like, Twilight fan fiction. And I knew...
And then find out that it actually became published as 50 Shades of Grey.
That would have been amazing if I had been in the same classes. I probably... Like, if I'm being honest, if I had been in the same class as her, and this is...
You probably would have shat all over her work.
Probably, and not only that, like, I would have been so mad if she got published. Like, I probably would have gone into a really, really bad depression. Like, if I was in a creative writing class with her, I read her weird Twilight fan fiction,
why,
and was like...
Why is Edward into S&M?
Yeah, like, what the fuck is this? What is going on? This is so weird. Like, I don't even know this, and I don't even know anything about these worlds, and I know this is wrong.
First of all, we know Jacob would be the one with the S&M, obviously, right? Like, he's a werewolf.
That is literally all I know. He's Native American, he's a werewolf, and he was played by Taylor Lautner.
I watched the first movie, and there was a lot of stipulations on getting me to even watch that. The only thing I can say is that the werewolves from the trailers that I saw look legitimately cool.
Yeah.
that's about as much as I can really say about that movie.
I could tell you a lot of the cast that was in it.
And that I think really illustrates the difference between me and you. It's like you'll still like a passing interest in a movie for you. You know who's in it. Yeah. A passing interest in a movie for me is like I think I remember 3 of 4 of the words in the title. Yeah. It was like La La World or something like that, right?
Yeah, some of those actors I like legitimately kind of feel bad for because it's like it became really obvious that they did not want, like, a lot of them did not want to be in those movies.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, these have really kind of turned into shit, and it's not that they weren't shit before, but I really needed the job back then, and I don't need the job anymore, so it's kind of shitty. And it's, yeah, I don't know. And it was such a thing, and can I bring up one thing? And this is a thing that just drives me nuts.
Could I stop you if I wanted to?
Yeah, you can stop me. Feel free. But I am so tired of, like, the only thing that I ever hear from, and like, when I go to Salt Lake City Comic-Con, I won't go to any panels that have to do with Supernatural, even though I watch Supernatural, because there's, and it's not every question, but there's a ton of questions that are like,
we're getting there.
Which one's cuter, Jared or Jensen? Who's the better kisser, Jared or Jensen?
And this obviously Jensen.
No, this was literally, the actress hadn't been on the show in like 9 years. It had been a long time. Like 8 or 9 years. It had been a while. Like anything over 5, I think it's fair to be like, okay, maybe I don't want to talk about it, you know, especially because I was on there for 1 season. It was, and like a lot of the questions were about the show, and she was on Arrow, and her character had just died. Spoiler alert, sorry, it was several years ago. But it was like, her character had just died. I wanted to actually talk about that, especially because she'd signed on to do another season, even though her character was dead, and
it was like, well, how's this gonna work?
Yeah, you know? Like, what's up with this? But, like, nobody, like, there was only a handful of questions that
nobody thought that would be a relevant topic.
No, they were, like, who's a better trickster, Jared or Jensen? And you're just like, come on, guys.
You know, the worst part is that you know the mentality behind that, too.
Yeah.
Is it's beyond the fangirlism, they think they're gonna be the original person by not talking about what's relevant now.
Yeah, or something.
You know, and I think that's pretty much probably how Nathan Fillion has to deal with everything now. Where it's all like, hey, so, you know, I was in Halo Reach, and I've been in, like, I had a cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's talk about that. So, on Firefly, did this ever happen? It's like, well, no. It lasted... Again, the show lasted like 15 episodes.
You saw all of them.
You watched all of
the DVD. Or Netflix.
Guarantee you've already seen everything that ever came from the show. Okay, cool. It's like, yeah, okay. So, anyways, any questions about, you know, working with Bungie Studios on Halo? Yeah. So on the set of Firefly,
it's like, you know, I did Castle for what was it, 8 or 9 years. I did that for a long time, and the show kind of ended under mysterious circumstances that maybe me and my co-star didn't get along. Anybody want to ask about that?
I've got a question for David Boreanaz. So, you've been doing Bones for the past decade or so, and the show just recently ended. As that, what do you think they would pick up if they made another season of Angel?
You know, and I love hearing those questions too, because I love watching David Boreanaz respond, because he has no interest in doing it again.
Well, at this point, like, that's the thing, is like, I would love there to be another Firefly show.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want it to be about Nathan Fillion's band of outcasts, though. Because
it would be really weird considering it's been so long to get back with those characters, because they would have to be so different they would almost be unrecognizable.
Right. Well, and that's the problem with people who want to, like, dig that back up, is it's like, yeah, that ship sailed a long time ago. There's no bringing that back.
And people, can we be honest? Let's look at some of the, like, revival shows that we've got. There's Dallas. That's not on anymore. That made it 3 seasons, and part of that might be that the actor that played JR died. But we also have Fuller House. And we know...
Apparently it's successful enough that they're renewing for a season 3?
I think season 3 is coming out. I think they're renewing it for season 4. It's going. I'm not, and I don't want to insult it, because I fell asleep during the first season and I haven't watched it. But it was pretty Disney Channel, if I'm being honest. I mean, are we really getting what we actually want out of these revival shows? I'm just saying, like, I watched the first episode of the new season of X-Files, and it was like, everything you thought it wasn't. It was this. And I was kind of mad. Like, I haven't watched the rest of it because of that, and I've heard that it gets really good, but I've also heard they focus on some other agents, which, don't you want to just watch Mulder and Scully? Like,
I don't know. I got through the first season and a half of X-Files, and I was watching it and thinking, why am I following Agent Scully and Mulder? Like, they basically just mumble their way through every single episode, and then sometimes something slightly, like, supernatural happens, and then it's like, oh, but did it actually happen? It's like, yeah, it did. They saw Bigfoot. We watched them find him. It happened. Well, I guess we'll just have to put it in the X-Files. I don't know if I can trust what I saw, Mulder. Well, Scully, you saw Bigfoot. You saw him. He shook your hand and showed you his ID. That could be explained by anything, Mulder. Then, the credits roll.
That was a problem, like, in the second season, especially because they'd kind of seen everything that she was supposed to be a skeptic on.
Yeah. All right, so that's it for today. Join us in next time as we continue this, because I got a lot to say about X-Files, honestly. Despite having not watched enough of it, I definitely have got some hard opinions on things that I shouldn't.
I'm fine with that.
See you next time.